that he conquered that wasn't willing to become part of Rome. They gave them the option. You can be part of the Roman Empire or you can defy us. What do you choose to do? And if they wouldn't swear allegiance to the Roman Empire, they'd take them to the closest seaport and they'd put them on a boat and they'd sell them across the Mediterranean Sea to Rome, and they'd force them to live in Rome till they learned the Roman way. That's called translating. When you go down in water and baptism, he separates you from an old lifestyle by water, and he can't get across the water. When you get to this side of the water and you've been buried in his name and you now become a child of God, there's not a devil in the world that's big enough to torment you or cause you any kind of problem. Do you understand that the cross was as much about heaven as it was earth? Do you understand that? Why was it about heaven? Because for at least 4,000 years, heaven had been in chaos. Why? Because the morning star decided to exalt his throne above God's throne. Now, when did that happen? The Bible don't say, but Hughes' opinion is when God created a being that had more power than he had. When God created something that he put himself into and he made in his image, he had created a being that had more power, more authority, and more ability than Lucifer. And when Lucifer saw this creation, he became jealous. And as he became jealous of God's creation, he caused a third of the angels of heaven to rise in opposition against God. And they were cast out of heaven because of that opposition. For 4,000 years, heaven has been waiting to see what God's going to do about Lucifer. So when Jesus died on the cross and he screamed, "I won," and he led captivity captive, he took hell to heaven to show all of heaven, I conquered him once and for all. He will no longer torment my children. For 4,000 years, he's tormented my creation. For the next 2,000 years, my creation gets to torment him. Well, y'all don't believe this. Okay, let me prove it. If you're just that hard-headed, I'll prove it. I'll strip away every excuse. When I get through, you won't have one excuse to say, no, it don't work that way. Jesus was accused of casting the devil out by the devil. Was he not? It's recorded in 2 different books. And what did Jesus say? A house divided against itself will fall. But if I, with the finger of God, cast out devils, no doubt the kingdom of heaven is at hand. When a strong man keeps his house, his goods are in peace. But when a stronger man comes, he conquers his house. He takes his armor and he divides the spoils. He takes his armor and then who gets the spoils? The king's kids. When the strong man kept his house, he thought he had it in peace. I got this one controlled. But when the stronger man showed up, that's Jesus Christ. He served notice on the devil. I come to get your house and I've come to get your armor. When I get through with you, you will have no weapons to torment anybody in the world again. When I get through with you, you will be bound in chains until the day of judgment, and you will have no power to torment anybody. If the devil shows up at your house, you can always hear him coming because he's in chains. So God made it where Satan could never get close enough to you without you hearing him. He's bound in chains until the day of judgment. And when Paul declares it to this church at Colossae in the 2nd chapter, 14th verse, having spoiled, you know what the word spoil means? Having disarmed principalities and powers. He made a public spectacle out of them, triumphing over them in it. Having disarmed Satan, could it be that the whole armor of God is armor God took from Satan and said, I want my kids to wear this every day of their life, because when they put it on and they start walking through life, it's going to remind the devil every day of what I took from him. He stole it from man to start with and thought he would be able to become a man. But he couldn't steal creativity. See, the only characteristic that separates men and angels is creativity. Angels have a will. If they didn't, they couldn't have rebelled. So it's not a will that separates angels. They got a will, but they have no creative powers. Satan has never created anything. He don't have the power to create. Now let me ask a question. Where do you get this from? Can you go outside and find this growing on a tree somewhere and pick it? Do you mine it out of this earth? Do you go digging in the ground and like diamonds you find that this isn't in the sea? Where'd it come from? The creative genius of God living in human beings gives them powers to create. See, you can create whatever you want to. You have the power to do it. You can create good, you can create evil. You can create kindness, you can create hate, you can create love. You have the power to create anything you choose to create if you choose to create it. Nobody can keep you from doing that. God gave you part of himself. He gave you his creative nature. And with that creative nature, it allows us to create things Satan and angels can't create. We can create worship. They are required to worship. Anybody remember a story of the demon of Gadara? Anybody remember that story? Does anybody remember the story before the demon of Gadara? What happens before Jesus shows up on the shore? And when you read it, we think it takes place in daylight. But if you go to the chapter before, you discover that Jesus has taught people and he's weary and tired and he's exhausted. And he tells his disciples, we need to go across the lake. These people are not going to leave me alone. I don't have any more to give out. Let's go to the other side of the lake. They'll have a long way to walk to catch up. We can cut across the lake. It'll take them several hours to find us. So let's go the other side. Now, John lets us know Jesus was never caught off guard. Jesus is God in flesh. Jesus knew a storm was coming. Jesus wasn't caught off guard that they're going to get out a few feet from the shore and the wind's going to start blowing and the sea's going to, Galilee's 680 feet deep. And I was in it one day when the wind started blowing, and we went from a calm water to 14-foot waves breaking across the bow of our boat in just a matter of moments. So they get in a boat, head to the other side. And it says in the evening time. What does that mean? About dark. They get in a boat so nobody can see where they're going. They don't have lights. So the people on shore don't know if they're going south, they're going east, they're going north. They just know they're on the west side, they head to the east side, but there's 14 miles of land up the other side they could land at. And he's headed across the lake, don't know where he's going. And Jesus goes to back the boat and goes to sleep. Then all of a sudden the wind starts blowing. Why? Because the God of this world had controlled this world, and he's going to kill the Messiah. And he caused the wind to start blowing. The ship is filled up with water, about to drown. And they finally awaken Jesus, say, Jesus, we're dying. And Jesus stepped to the bow of the boat, and he simply said, shut up, wind. And the wind quit blowing. That's literally what he said. And the wind stopped blowing instantly, and the 12 men nearly jumped out of the boat because it terrified them. What man has the power to control the wind and the wave? See, Jesus knew a demonic was on the other side, and he's letting Satan's trying to keep him from getting there. And so he lets Satan know, I've come to take what you've stole. You're not going to control what's going on here. I take authority over the wind. I take authority over the waves. I don't care what's in your life. I have the absolute authority over all of it. So it's not going to wreck your life. Just know that he knows where you're at. And then they're on the other fourth watch, 4 o'clock in the morning. They wind up on the shore. Out of the darkness comes a screaming man. Now, can you imagine what's going through the mind of those 12 men? He just terrified them by screaming at the wind, shut up, and it instantly quit blowing. And now they land on shore, and here comes this scream. They can't see where he's coming from. They can't even see him. How did he see Jesus? He didn't see Jesus. 2,000 devils saw Jesus. 2,000 devils knew that God had stepped on shore, and devils have to worship God because they are nothing but a fallen angel, and they still have to do what angels do. And when the creator of the universe stepped on shore, those 2,000 devils in that man come running and fell at the feet of Jesus and worship him. In the Greek language, nouns and verbs must agree in gender and number. You can't have a masculine noun and a feminine verb. That verb has a removable nu on the end of it, which lets you know you have to translate it neuter. So it's not he ran and fell at his feet. It's it ran and fell at his feet, and it worshiped him. Every time Jesus showed up where devils were at, they identified themselves and said, I know who you are. There are